Welcome back now for the news in detail. Libyan government forces have retaken a key military base from fighters loyal to Eastern Commander Khalifa Haftar. Their spokesman says dozens of rebels have been killed during the operation, with the 18 being taken prisoners. The recaptured town of Ghani, south of Tripoli, was home to Haftar's main supply base, 80 kilometers from Tripoli. The loss is a major blow to his attempt to seize the capital. The UN-backed government's troops entered the city using sleeper cells. Haftar's forces have denied losing the base, saying the battle for control of the town is still going on. Nine civilians have been killed in Russian and regime airstrikes in Syria's northwestern province of Idlib. War monitors say 2 civil defense workers are among the dead. 5 other volunteers are also wounded. The latest attack came nearly a week after regime airstrikes hit an ambulance in Idlib, killing 3 rescue workers. Turkey and Syria's disagreement over the Idlib safe zone has escalated clashes. War monitors say more than 470 civilians have died since late April. According to the United Nations, the violence has forced over 330,000 people to flee their homes. President Donald Trump says there will be no U.S. boots in Iran in the event of military action. Repeating his desire to avoid a conflict, Trump says the U.S. is in a strong position and a war would not last long. The president has threatened the obliteration of parts of Iran if it endangers U.S. interests. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani has called the White House policy mentally retarded. Iran says it will speed up uranium enrichment after its deadline for Europe to save the nuclear deal passes today. Tehran says it will take new steps to reduce its commitments to the 2015 nuclear deal from July 7th. Iran's envoy to the United Nations says Tehran's agreement with world powers is in critical condition. Ambassador Majid Takht Ravanchi says Iran will no longer shoulder the burden of keeping the agreement alone. He says the U.S. talks offer cannot be trusted while illegal sanctions are in place. Now, Saudi Arabia says it will support the U.S. economic plan for Palestinians because it will bring them prosperity. Saudi Finance Minister Mohammed Al-Jadaan told the Bahrain conference Riyadh has supported Palestinians for 50 years. International Monetary Fund head Christine Lagarde says an Israeli-Palestinian peace deal will bring lasting investment to the region. She added peace, political stability and trust between all parties are prerequisites for any plan to succeed. Neither Israel nor Palestinian government attended the event. Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates support the plan, but Palestinians have rejected it. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan says President Trump has not discussed sanctions over Ankara's purchase of the S-400 missile system. Before leaving for the G20 summit in Japan, Erdogan said he would discuss the issue with Trump on the meeting sidelines. The United States has warned it would impose sanctions on Turkey if it goes ahead with the S-400 deal, but Ankara says it would not stop the purchase. Meanwhile, South Korea says multi-million-dollar commercial projects can boost nuclear talks between U.S. and North Korea. South Korea's Unification Minister Kim Yong-chul says trust the deficit between Washington and Pyongyang is hindering dialogue. Seoul says Washington and Pyongyang are holding behind-the-scenes talks to arrange a third summit. President Donald Trump says he will not meet North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un at this weekend's G20 summit. Trump has repeatedly said Kim is committed to removing nuclear weapons while Pentagon disagrees. North Korea says Washington must produce a new strategy to revive denuclearization talks. Afghan President Ashraf Ghani has met Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan. The Afghan president arrived in Islamabad today on a 2-day official visit to Pakistan, his third since 2014. The Pakistan's Prime Minister's advisor on commerce, Abdul Razak Dawood, welcomed him at Noor Khan Air Base. President Ghani also inspected a guard of honor. President Ghani spoke to Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi. Qureshi says Pakistan will continue playing its role for peace and stability in Afghanistan. The Afghanistan spokesperson says talks with the Taliban, regional connectivity and trade ties will be on his agenda. This comes after a week-long Afghan peace conference was held in Pakistan. Meanwhile, 16 people had crushed to death at Madagascar's Independence Day rally in the capital. 75 others have been injured in the stampede. 3 children are among the dead. Thousands of people gathered for a military parade and a concert at the Antananarivo Stadium. Authorities say the stampede occurred after police shut the venue's main gate. President Andre Rajoelina later visited victims in hospital, saying the state would cover the medical costs of the injured. Now, Italian Coast Guards have stopped a rescue ship carrying 42 migrants after it entered Italian waters despite a ban. Owned by charity group Sea Watch, the boat picked up 53 migrants from the Libyan coast after staying in international waters since June 12th. Far-right Interior Minister Matteo Salvini has closed Italy's ports to migrants after accusing charity rescuers of being complicit with human traffickers. 11 migrants have already been taken off the ship by the Italian Coast Guard for health reasons. A photo of a drowned Salvadoran man and his daughter has highlighted the plight of migrants at the US-Mexico border. It comes as Mexico launched a crackdown against immigrants after US President Donald Trump threatened it with tariffs. The picture shows father and daughter lying face down in the muddy water near the banks of the Rio Grande in Texas. The 23-month-old girl's arms is wrapped around her father's neck, suggesting she was clinging to him in her final moments. The minor died alongside her father while trying to cross the border. 2 NGOs have accused the South African government of being responsible for hundreds of premature deaths in 2016. They allege the state is unable to control coal-related air pollution in the Highveld area.
Despite growing concern about the dangers of coal power, many developing countries continue to depend on it. This is true for South Africa. The country relies on thermal power stations for 91% of its domestic electricity. The Highveld priority area, south of Johannesburg, has become one of the most polluted parts of the country.
I find it difficult to breathe. Sometimes I feel like I'm really going to die. It's bad.
Now, 2 NGOs say they've found those responsible. The area hosts 12 coal-fired power stations run by the state-owned utility company Exxon. The NGOs, Groundwork and Vulcani, allege pollution from these plants killed between 205 and 650 people in 2016. The campaign groups have opened a lawsuit against the government for violating the right to clean air. This is a first in South Africa, which is one of the continent's most industrialized countries.
Moving on, Kenya's environmental court has blocked the building of a coal power station in the Lamu archipelago. The $2 billion project faced years of resistance from conservationists and local communities. The court set aside an early decision granting a license to developers Amu Power to build East Africa's first coal-fired power plant. The move has been called a great victory by campaigners against the project.
In furtherance of our powers, under Section 129(3)(b) and C, we order the second respondent, should it still wish to pursue the construction and operation of the project, to undertake a fresh EIA study following the terms of reference already formulated in January 2016.
Meanwhile, Malaysian authorities have seized 5,000 terrapins at Kuala Lumpur airport. A customs official says authorities have seized the red-eared sliders from 2 Indian nationals. The officials say the 2 men arrived in Malaysia from China and returning to India to sell the turtles. They placed the reptiles in a basket inside the suitcases. The official says this is the first such case of the year. Red-eared sliders are the most popular turtle in the pet trade. The current European women's lightweight boxing champion was once a victim of domestic violence, and that too while pregnant with her first child. There's more in this report.
Miriam Gutierrez has earned herself the moniker of the Queen at her boxing gym. This was after she was crowned Europe's lightweight champion in March, but this Spanish pugilist has a dark past. When she was 21 and pregnant with her first child, her fiancé beat her so severely she gave birth prematurely and covered in bruises.
He hit my face in such a way that he broke several bones in my face, and I fell to the ground. The first thing that came to my mind as a person that was going to be a mother was, does my daughter still have a heartbeat?
Today, lightweight champion Megan Rapinoe fights wearing a mouthguard that says #GenderViolence. But there is more to her life today than just boxing and being a mother. In May, she was elected as a city councillor in a Madrid suburb. She intends to use this position to push for women's rights.
I feel that young people are not well informed. This is something that is truly disturbing because everything seems like a game to them. They don't have the sense of responsibility or awareness about how things are. I imagine that with these speeches and guidance, they might become aware of the dangers out there.
She also visits schools, giving girls self-defense classes and giving speeches about gender violence and bullying. While doing all of this, she also has her sights set on a world championship.
I'm spending a lot of time away from my family and my people in order to achieve the dream that I long await. It is complicated to organize everything. Thanks to my husband, who's the one that helps me the most, and he's also the one who suffers the worst moments when I'm down. I'm moved because I'm taking a lot of time out from them.
Gender and domestic violence have become prominent issues in Spain. The far-right Vox party, which won 24 parliamentary seats in April, aims to scrap a gender violence law they say discriminates against men. According to Spain's leading judicial body, over 158,000 women were subject to violence by men in 2017.
A rebellious streak has taken over Sudan's underground music scene since longtime dictator Omar al-Bashir was toppled in April. The country's musicians have written slogans from the protest movement into their lyrics. More in this report.
No national revolution is complete without support from the country's artists. Sudan's protest movement is no different. Musicians couldn't express themselves openly during Omar al-Bashir's iron-fisted rule. Now, it's an integral part of the movement for democracy.
When we are in the sitting, we try to sing with people, all this music. A lot of the music that we did now have phrases from the revolution turned into melodies and songs. That's the whole idea.
The Transitional Military Council and its Rapid Support Force have become the musicians' favourite target. New songs about the brutal June 3rd protest crackdown are finding their way online.
I'm kind of freaked out a little bit for my daughter. Like, I don't want her to face what we're facing in another 20 years, 10 years. You know, I don't want her to be going out again against the next president. You get me? So we'll find a way.
Medics linked to the protest movement accused the Rapid Support Force of killing 128 people during the clampdown. An internet blackout ordered by the military is making it harder to broadcast dissenting content. But Sudan's rebel musicians say they will keep fighting.
The Glastonbury Festival has opened its gates for music lovers in the United Kingdom. Thousands of people are attending the world's largest greenfield festival. Hundreds of renowned performers ranging from Stormzy to Ghani and Janet Jackson are performing in 3 days of music. 2 million people pre-registered for a ballot to buy one of the 135,000 general admission tickets, priced at £248. The tickets for this year's festival sold out in just 36 minutes. Now, San Francisco is about to become the first American city to ban the sale of electronic cigarettes. Government officials across the country are looking to curb the uptick in e-cigarette usage and vaping among teenagers. Electronic cigarettes, also known as vaporizers, are generally thought to be less harmful than traditional cigarettes. But critics of the devices argue that long-term effects of using them remain largely unknown. This, combined with a massive rise in vaping among teenagers, has led to alarm among schools and parents.
I go back to smoking cigarettes full-time or go across the bay, go somewhere else. No big deal. I mean, you hop on a bus or whatever, 20 minutes later, you got all the e-juice you want.
San Francisco will be the first city in the U.S. to implement a complete ban on the sale of e-cigarettes. The metropolis is home to major vape manufacturers Juul. In 2015, the company burst onto the scene with its pod-style vaping kits, which became immensely popular. The firm's image took a major hit as its product became all the rage with teenagers. Marlboro manufacturer Altria Group owns 35% of shares in Juul.
We have irresponsible companies like Juul that target our young people, and Juul is headquartered in my district, and so the community is highly upset.
There are fears the ban will lead to increased smoking rates. Traditional cigarettes kill half of all lifetime users, according to the World Health Organization. More news coming up after a break. Stay tuned. Now, President Donald Trump says India's tariffs against the United States are unacceptable. India imposed extra duties on 28 U.S. products after Trump withdrew India's preferential trade status earlier this month. Ahead of his meeting with India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi at the G20 summit, Trump says New Delhi must withdraw the tariffs. Trump says he will raise the issue during his meeting with Modi on the sidelines of the G20 summit in Japan. This comes after United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said both countries have agreed to resolve their trade differences. During his three-day visit to New Delhi, Pompeo said India must give greater access to markets to revive its preferred trade status. The price of Bitcoin has skyrocketed to nearly $13,000, hitting a 17-month high. It's the highest level the virtual currency has traded since January 2018. Bitcoin has surged 230% since the start of the year, recovering from a 70% slump in 2018. The cryptocurrency's rally reflects growing investor interest in corporations like Facebook became involved in cryptocurrencies. Asia-Pacific stocks have risen following a media report that the United States and China have agreed to a trade war truce. Markets are also waiting on the outcome of the scheduled meeting between the leaders of the countries at this weekend's G20 summit. Japan's Nikkei 225 rose 0.64% in the morning session. Mainland Chinese shares also saw gains. In South Korea, the Kospi has recovered from its earlier slips, while Australian markets are trading flat. The dollar hovered near a one-week high again, the yen. Oil and gold prices fell fractionally, erasing some of the previous session's strong gains. The U.S. President Donald Trump has criticized American soccer star Megan Rapinoe over her refusal to visit the White House. Trump asked Rapinoe not to disrespect the country. In an interview, Rapinoe said she will not visit the White House after winning the ongoing Women's World Cup. President Trump responded saying the U.S. team's captain should win before saying such a thing. He later added he will invite the team whether they win or lose in France. In the African Cup of Nations, Ghana's Ayew brothers were on target in their 2-2 draw with Benin. Nigeria defeated Ghani 1-0 to advance to the round of 16. 10-man Ghana were forced to settle for a draw against Benin. 3 winners, Nigeria became the first team to qualify for the quarterfinals as they beat Guinea. Nigeria scored the only goal in the 73rd minute when Moses Simon's right-wing corner was headed in at the near post by Kenneth Omeruo. Britain's Johanna Konta loses to Tunisia's Ons Jabeur in the third round of the Eastbourne International Tennis Tournament. In the men's singles, American's Taylor Fritz defeats Argentina's Guido Pella, qualifying for the quarterfinals. British number 1 Johanna Konta's final tournament before Wimbledon ended in defeat by world number 62. Won Jabeur in the third round at Eastbourne. Konta led by a break in the first set before the Tunisian fought back to win 6-3, 6-2. In the men's singles, American's Taylor Fritz fought past Argentina's Guido Pella 6-4, 3-6 and 6-4. Fritz's big win propels him to a career-first grass court quarterfinals. Now let's have a look at the weather for around the globe. Well, that's all for now. For more news and updates, keep watching Indus News.